Welcome back to another week of Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. Clarkey, we got to be big boys today. We got to carry the show here, and
we got to work.
Luckily, and we're just fine with that. Luckily, there's a lot to touch on in the sports world. NHL playoffs raging on. Little Blue Jays, PWHL champions in Montreal. How about that? Lots to touch on. But first, we got to start the show with some very sad news out of the sports world. Now we dabble in our auto racing coverage on here. We jump around on it, and you know, when something big happens, we like to dive into it. You know, both of us have watched a lot of auto sport racing over the years. You know, my dad was the hugest NASCAR fan ever. Very, very sad news out of NASCAR. Today, it's Thursday, May 21st when we're recording this, and sadly, we've all learned the news that legendary driver Kyle Busch has passed away at the age of 41. And Clarkey, I mean, you know, when I saw this news, I that's the best way to put it, brother. Absolutely stunned to hear that Kyle Busch, at just 41 years of age, leaving behind a wife and two small kids. His son, actually, who's 11 years old, is a promising young race car driver himself. This is just so terribly sad, man, to lose a guy like Kyle Busch in a fashion that we're not sure of the details of, and ultimately that doesn't really matter. The statement from NASCAR and the Busch family and Hendrick Motorsports is that he passed away as a result of a severe illness that befell him after his last race. But it's just so sad, Clarkey.
It is definitely sad. Love him or hate him, you don't want to see that happen. And he was very polarized. You know, people liked him
and
or
his
hated
brother
him.
Both were.
There's no doubt about it. Kyle was the guy who people loved to hate. But there's a lot of people who loved him as well. And, you know, like close to home, my daughter and my grandson love the guy. And my daughter told me tonight, she just bought tickets to the truck race in Michigan to get Riker, my grandson, to go let him watch Kyle Busch in person. Cause they're religiously watching NASCAR every week. So it is extremely sad. And like when you first hear the news, you think, oh my gosh, was it an accident? Right.
Yeah.
And then to hear it was an illness. And I heard his radio last week in, I think it was Watkins Glen. They were upstate New York.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. And at one point during the race, he said to his crew chief during the race, can you please get a doctor to my bus after the race? He had what he thought was a sinus infection. And the guy said, yeah, we'll get him there after the race, no problem. And then I guess it just turned bad. His family tweeted this morning that he has been hospitalized with this severe illness, and he didn't make it through the day. It's nuts.
It is nuts. And you're right, Clarkey. Yeah, there were concerns after his race, the truck race at Watkins Glen, where he had to radio to his team. It's unbelievable. NASCAR put a statement out. We're saddened and heartbroken to share the news of the passing of Kyle Busch, a two-time Cup champion and one of our sport's greatest and fiercest drivers. People forget, I mean, people attached to NASCAR and diehard racing fans know, but people forget, like, they think back to the Bushes, like Kyle and his older brother Kurt, who of course won the 2004 Winston Cup championship, and then Kyle came raging in and you know, if anything, one-upped his brother. Like, both very talented drivers, but Kurt a one-time Cup champion. Kyle managed to snag two, one in 2015 and of course 2019, and he came in as kind of like the bad boy of racing. Like, he really he was a guy that's happy to trade paint with you. He'd wipe you out. Like, he was old school. He was really old school, and he was a lot of fun to watch. But people that are kind of casual race fans forget this guy is the all-time leader in NASCAR wins across their top three series. Yeah. The Cup Series, of course, the O'Reilly Series, and the Truck Series, where he proudly owned a team for a long time. 234 race, a staggering number of race wins. And you're right, things started to take a turn at Watkins Glen, and there was there was word that he had some sinus problems and the elevation changed. Watkins Glen is a road course. And it was bothering him. The G-force in the turns was really bugging his sinuses. And we unfortunately don't know too much more than that, but incredibly sad news to start the show this week. Rest in peace, Kyle Busch, an all-time racing legend, my friend. Let's race onward. There's no good transition from something like that. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the NHL playoffs. And
okay,
your panic meter must be going off as a hate watcher, because you're observing these playoffs as a hate watcher. And let's start in Montreal, where that young gentleman in the middle of that pile has etched his name into Montreal playoff history, something that's not easy to do. Alex Newhook with his second Game 7 overtime winner in as many series in this playoffs. Absolutely incredible. Montreal taking down Buffalo in 7 games on the road, and really incredible turnaround for them because they got blitzed at home in Game 6. Buffalo was trailing 3-1, and then they scored 7 unanswered, including into an empty net. They chased Jakob Dobish. How about that kid? He's putting his name into the conversation potentially for Conn Smythe. And the ride just continues for Montreal. And I have to ask you what you think of the Habs right now. Like, you must be really getting it from your friends that are Montreal lovers, man, because they are cruising into a heavyweight tilt with Carolina. And I think that's going to be a tough test for them. Mind you, Carolina, the last number of times that they've made to the conference final, they've really stubbed their toes. As a matter of fact, this year, regular season, take this with a little pinch of salt, if you will. Montreal undefeated against Carolina this year in the regular season. They had their number. So this could get potentially worse for you, brother.
Yeah, it definitely could get worse. There's no doubt about it. And we know what we could be watching for a Stanley Cup final, which is really scary for me. But Montreal, like, it just, as a Leaf fan, it obviously drives you crazy that here's this team been floundering for years. Leafs get to the playoffs 9 straight years, can't get out of the second round. And then Montreal, boom, gets in, and boom, gets
including
to the conference
a loss
final.
Including a crushing loss to Montreal in that Canadian division year because of COVID.
Yeah. After they took John Tavares out, but it was
Clarkey. It didn't take.
Here's what, like, as I said, one Montreal fan that you and I both know has been quiet. He has respected my angst and has not reached out. And if he does, he will get ignore from me. But my other,
that's fine.
Exactly, it's fine. Darn right, it's fine. But my other, I have other Hab fans who are reminding me every day that they're in the conference final. Here's the deal: you have to have a lot of luck. I've said it many times. Stars have to align for you to win the Stanley Cup. Stars are aligning for them right now. There's no doubt about it. Like, you have Demidov, Slavkovsky, Caulfield, Suzuki. They're quiet. They're not doing anything really. And scoring wise. And you got Alex Newhook and like Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. Like, come on. You got to make that save, dude. That's what killed Buffalo. You have to make that save in overtime. Like, that's a weak goal to let in.
Yeah, and like in on him. Yep.
You know, and then the non-goal call. Buffalo must be scratching their head again. As a goalie, obviously, I'm going to say that was covered and he shoved it. I would love to, here's the other thing. In this day and age, how can we not have a camera on the opposite side of the ice? Like, there was no replays on ESPN or Hockey Night in Canada from the other side of the ice where you may have seen if he actually had the puck covered or not. It certainly looked like he did. There's no doubt about it. I'm not saying he didn't, but can't we put one camera on the other side of the ice? Even a RoboCam up on the glass, like, just so you can see the goalie in the net. I just think it's unbelievable how we can't have that in this day and age.
Well, and I don't know how much that would have helped in this situation, Clarkey. Because
it wouldn't have helped, Ryan. It wouldn't have helped because the decision was made. It wasn't a continuation. but I still would have liked to seen the opposite side of the ice. Yeah, Wes McCauley. Yep. Go figure. Wes McCauley. Here he is again.
Wes McCauley. It's not. Look, he lost sight of the puck, and we see this happen in hockey sometimes.
It was covered.
It's a fast game, we do need to give the referees some grace here. Like, it was the right call. I know people in Buffalo, there are people that aren't going to feel the same. Was it a little quick? Yeah, it was a little quick, but he loses sight of the puck. He sees Busch with the wickets closed, and he thinks, and the replay from the goal cam did show that there was a stick blade that jammed through his pad to poke the puck forward, which is, of course,
but was allowed. I never saw one replay showing if his pads were closed.
His pads,
the front.
His pads are closed, and then you can see.
But if you can see the puck through the pads, you can go after it. You can go after the puck.
But
you can't shove his pads. I get it.
Again, though, and I don't think there's an argument to be made that his pad was shoved back by the opposition player's stick.
Well, yeah, for sure. That's the argument.
But it doesn't matter because it's the discretion of the referee. When they lose sight of the puck, it's up to them to make this. It's tough. It's a tough, quick whistle. Yes, I understand that, but I didn't have a problem with it. And to be perfectly fair, things tend to even out because, I mean, later on in that period, Jason Zucker absolutely crushed Busch. Now, he made it look like it was a mission impossible,
and that's why
explosion.
You're right.
Which he's
got to stop
there wasn't
doing
a
that.
call there. I understand that, but there's where it evens out, right? Montreal would be sitting there going,
they got a goal that was a penalty. A goal is way more important than a penalty, but I get it. I understand what you're saying, but don't tell me that Montreal had more calls from the ref going their way. They certainly did.
Not what I'm trying to claim. I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I get it.
To your earlier point of stars aligning, this is part of it. The referees are
100%, man.
They're part of the journey. 100%. Okay. And good teams, the teams that win, they're able to overcome bad calls. Okay. That's just the fact of the matter. I always reference this, Boston, when they won the cup in 2011, their power play was awful. I actually think it's the worst power play of a Stanley Cup winner in history. I might be misspeaking there, but their power play, particularly in the series where Nate Horton scored that OT winner to put Montreal out, their power play was 6% in that series. I think it finished 11%, which is obviously a rarity, but good teams find a way, and Montreal's finding a way, and here they are in Carolina. Game one's tonight as we record this. Again, it's Thursday, May 21st here. We've already seen game one of the other series, and this is where things could get even more dicey for you, clutching your couch as a proud Leaf fan. And that's the performance that this young gentleman continues to put together in his new digs in Vegas, and that's Mitch Marner, who is pacing the playoffs with 19 points.
Before you go any further,
please,
since we're doing this show as Montreal is playing, it's 10 minutes into the first period, and they're winning 3-1.
There you go. Okay.
Oh boy.
Well, let's talk about this guy.
Look who scores for Montreal. Leaf. Texier, Deneau. Oh, Cole Caulfield actually scored a goal.
And that lends, I think, to the conversation that we can have about this gentleman that our viewers
can
see on the
screen. Let's have a conversation about this gentleman. Sure.
I think that this kind of lends to what, the narrative should be around this guy, and that's that he's landed in a place that is not only accentuating the talents that he has, but he's surrounded by players that can fill in the gaps that he and his former Leaf teammates could not fill. Being well-rounded, a deep roster, especially up front, stars on defense. I know that this team is missing guys like Alex Pietrangelo, who we probably unfortunately won't see play again, but guys like Shea Theodore are back there doing their thing. They have a very deep roster up front. Brett Howden makes $2 million and has 8 goals. They have depth on this roster that the Maple Leafs in Mitch Marner's time there were not able to put together. Now, if you want to levy blame at Marner for taking too much money alongside those other 3 guys that remain in Toronto, at least for now, I'm willing to hear that. Absolutely. But it's the general manager's job to put a deep and well-rounded roster together, and the Leafs were not able to do that around this guy. I'm not letting this guy off the hook, Clarkey, before you jump down my throat here. I know that you don't want to give any praise to Fancy Pants here, as you called him in his time in Toronto. but there is something to be said for, he's doing it there and he didn't do it here. Look at the roster he's playing with. The Maple Leafs don't have players like Mark Stone on their team. They just don't. And their stars don't play like Mark Stone and Jack Eichel and these guys that are willing to be physical and dig in. I heard a report today that Chris Johnson continues to do great reporting. The word out Austin Matthews camp is at the end of the year, he sat down with the Leafs and said, we need to be grittier up front. Excuse me, you're 6'4", 220 pounds. How about you lean into a guy in the playoffs? I digress. I want you to take over here. What are your thoughts on, what's a bigger nightmare for you, Clarkey? Marner winning the cup or Montreal?
Well,
what's worse? I think it's Marner.
No, I will be cheering for Mitch Marner if they play Montreal. I cannot.
Why?
Because I'm a Leaf fan. I'm not a fan or get too upset over players, but I absolutely despise the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah.
I will never, ever.
So that's
ever
why it's worse.
Cheer for Montreal. I will want Mitch Marner and the Vegas Golden Knights to win if they come up against Montreal. I'm still, and I know we're one game into the Colorado series with Vegas.
Yeah,
I'm still standing by my theory that they've played Utah and Anaheim. If he does this against Colorado, I thought Vegas was going to win game one. I get it because Colorado hadn't played in a while. Kale McCarr wasn't in the lineup. It's always, and I think Carolina's showing it tonight, that layoff always hurts a team. Always, always, always. Let's see what he does the rest of the series. If he keeps performing, fine. I'm just sick and tired of hearing people at work saying, oh, well, he wasn't the problem. He wasn't the problem. Yes, he was. He was part of the problem. He wasn't only the problem, but he was part of the problem in Toronto. There was no doubt about it. He was part of the problem.
He was part of the problem.
And he didn't want to play here. So, whatever.
I don't think that was true at the start.
He drained them of all their money, threatened to sit out, got his dad crying for him, and then he left.
That all may be true.
So, whatever.
That I'm willing to hear that. I'm willing to hear that stuff. I've said famously on this show and to many other Leaf fans many times, I think that contract that he got, it was an overpayment, and they were trying to appease him and make him happy because he didn't get 11, and I understand that. Okay, again. The Leafs didn't do a very good job of building a well-rounded roster.
Obviously, they didn't.
However,
they didn't.
You're right, though.
And I know you're going to jump down my throat. They were a game away last year from beating the Stanley Cup champs. And
they were. Unfortunately, that game exploded in their face, and they didn't show up.
You're right. You're right.
A 23-man
they didn't play
roster,
like Montreal has in the last two Game 7s.
No, and they didn't play, and their stars, say what you will right now in Montreal about, Suzuki's not producing, Caulfield's not producing right now. They've had some, ineffective games points-wise. That line's still playing 20, 21 minutes a night, and they're playing hard. Nick Suzuki is playing really well defensively.
He's
and winning
playing better than the rest of those guys. In my mind.
Yeah, Slavkovsky is using his size and winning puck battles, and they're not getting caved in defensively.
Mm-hmm.
They're finding a way to contribute, and when they're down point-wise, the roster is well built enough that guys like Josh Anderson and Alex Newhook can step up and give a little boost.
But don't give me they played well defensively, and because I say that about Matthews, and you jump down my throat. You don't pay that guy that much money to play well defensively. I get it. Well, Montreal's paying their guys a lot of money too, so they have to put pucks in the net.
But not near as much, though, Clarkey. And guys, they are scoring. It's not like Suzuki and Caulfield have 0 points. That's not what's going on.
I know,
right? So I do think that, again, that argument comes back to the roster's well constructed. The decor Montreal, Montreal's decor right now.
I keep watching
Gooley and Hudson, and
I keep watching Hudson. Thinking, what can I say bad about this guy? When I talk to my Montreal friends, I'm at a loss for words.
He's so good, and his brother is really good too. Both of them 2nd-round picks.
Well, they
second round pick.
Secured Timothy Liljegren for 2 years too, so that'll be good for Washington.
Well, I mean, if it turns into what happened with Rasmus Sandin, yeah, it will be really good for Washington. But we don't need to talk about Washington. They're
Guys, the Leafs can't draft. I've been told they don't draft well. Anyway.
Well, they don't draft or develop well. That's certainly for sure. And they threw that kid into the. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, like, we can talk up and down about, Marner with the Leafs. The fact of the matter is,
hold on. I've been waiting on something. I've been waiting for you to tell me how bad the Leafs are at drafting.
Yeah, they are.
So hold on 1 second.
Oh, okay. Clark, he's got to go and get some material here. Okay, I understand. Clarkey wants to go get some material. I do find it interesting, Clarkey, too. Like, you brought up the fact that Carolina with that long layover. I saw a wild stat where there's only been 3 other instances in NHL playoff history where a team has had a 10 or more day layoff. Carolina's ended up amounting to 12 days off. And the 3 teams prior to Carolina this year that had a 10 or more day layoff between playoff series, that those teams did not win the following series. So there really is something to be said, historically anyway. It's only a few examples, obviously, but there is something to be said for continuing to play again right away and staying engaged. And we'll see if it comes back and bites Carolina. This is okay.
So I've done a little homework.
You did. You did some homework.
I did some homework, and good. I did some research. And there's some information on the internet about this, and in fact, there's a story about it from a few years back. Since 2005, drafts, rounds 3 to 7. Who do you think is the top team to get players most games in the NHL?
Are you going to tell me
it's to 7?
Are you going to tell me it's Toronto? Because I would guess.
No, it's not Toronto.
Who do you think? I would guess it's someone like Tampa.
Tampa close. Tampa's second. Yeah.
I don't think it's Wash. Wash hits their
Washington's
Wash gets
below
their
the
money.
Leafs.
Wash gets their money done in the rounds 1 to 4.
They're 19th.
They're 19 from rounds 3 to 7.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they never,
because that's what you've always said the Leafs can't do. They can always draft fine in the first and second round, but not later. So the top team is Detroit. Okay.
I'm not surprised by that.
Zetterberg, Holmstrom.
Well, they were drafted before 2005, but
in the past. Number 3, Dallas. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
4 is LA, 5 is Boston. Then it goes Pitt, Florida, Columbus, New Jersey, Ottawa. Toronto sits 11th. Some of their later picks, Connor Brown.
Chris, I don't think
talking about guys who played in the NHL most amount of games. That's what it's about in the later rounds. There's not a lot of superstars. You're helping your
argument the way you think you are here.
Yes, I am.
Because for the Leafs to be 11th with all of the money and resources they have, to be 11th is unacceptable to me. They should be top 5. How are they not top 5? I thought you were going to tell me,
they're dead last. They're actually 11th when it comes to
not dead. I never said they were dead last.
Yeah, you have, and I'll get the tape.
I didn't say they were dead last in drafting players in rounds 3 to 7 that play NHL games. What I have said before, though, is that they never seem to be able to find star contributing play. Connor Brown, you bring up Connor Brown to me? Thanks. Good player. Like, I'm not trying to disrespect
I'm
Connor
talking
Brown.
About guys who played a lot of games in the NHL.
Great, they played games.
From rounds. You don't think he's been a valuable player in the NHL?
At times, he certainly has. I mean, he had a 3-year pocket there where he was a pretty useful player, but injuries and the fact that he's not a star.
Games played rounds 3 to 7. Toronto's 11th. Caps are 19th. 2021. Do you remember that draft? Did you remember Vincent Iorio?
Vinny Iorio, yeah, good Hershey Bear.
Yeah, he was drafted 2 places ahead of a Leaf guy for Washington. I don't know. I think he's been waived by Washington. And then Matthew Nyes was picked 2 picks after that. So maybe Washington didn't do their job very, very well that year. I'm just saying, you can't say to me the Leafs are the worst team at drafting. Maybe they're very terrible at developing. But
I certainly think they
stats
are.
show that they're not that bad drafting.
Again, though, with all the talk that we hear about the resource they have, and they should be able to outspend everybody and get this guy to scout, and that 11th, like that doesn't.
Scouting is such a crapshoot at the end of the day.
But why can't they do it better than other people with all this money that they apparently have?
Well,
how are they
11th.
not calling Detroit and Tampa and LA and being like, come scout for us, please?
It also depends on where you're drafting those years too, right?
I
like
understand
Colorado's
that
dead
as well.
last. Colorado's last on the list. Probably because they've been very successful. And they finished top and they draft last.
Well, and especially when you're talking about, starting back in 2005, like there was a real period there where Colorado was a go for it team every year. Then they hit that period in the 2010s where they were horrific and ended up with guys
they're dead last.
And
they're dead last. So
they're dead last. Great. I don't think that they care because they have
they
three
don't
Stanley
care, and
Cups.
that's my point. They don't care.
No, they shouldn't. But the Leafs over the life, like Colorado didn't exist in the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
No,
when the draft did exist.
Well, no, but that's not what I'm talking about.
But I'm talking. When I've said that the Leafs are the worst team at drafting and developing players, I'm talking about over the entire life of the entity and event known as the NHL entry
that's
draft.
Fine, but you can't. So that's just like saying, well, because Harold Ballard owned the team, they can't win a Stanley Cup. No, that's in the past.
How is it any different?
That's in the past.
Okay, it's in the past, but it's still stuff that happened.
Yeah,
they
I
still
get it.
Traded that pick. That turned into
but maybe
Scott
they were
Niedermayer.
bad in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. But since 2005, they've been above average.
They've been 11th. Great. I'm fired up for you.
Good. I just want you to know that. I'm just done. I'm done with your accusations that aren't accurate, that I look up and they are. Just like your freaking Tim Hortons McDonald's coffee one. It's a farce.
The Tim Hortons, no, it's not. It's not.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
it's fake news.
Explain to me the fake news with the Tim Hortons.
It was a bad rumor that started that McDonald's.
Is it a bad rumor? Okay,
beans.
well then
they didn't buy their beans. It's fake. Anyway,
who are they getting? This is stupid. Who cares? It has nothing to do with sports.
I'm just venting because I don't want to talk about Montreal, Mitch Marner.
I understand, and that's fine. I'll vent along with you. That's what the show's all about. I'm just saying, Clarkey, that look, I want, much like our conversation last week with Adnan Verk. Go back and watch that episode. Adnan's the best.
Yeah.
If I can quote Jerry Maguire again, help me help you. I want the Leafs to be better at this stuff.
I do too.
And for you to show up and go, okay, 2005 from rounds 3 to 7, they're 11th in total games played. I don't give a rat's ass how many times guys went on the ice for them. Who are these players that they're drafting? Are any of them still playing for the team? And are any of them still having significant impacts for the team? Where's a Kucherov in round 2? Where you bring up Washington in 2021.
One guy in the draft.
No,
30 other teams missed out on the guy too.
It's over and over and over again. Yes, he was the
second round pick.
The problem is
they give up on guys too fast.
They give up. Yeah, sure. They give up on some guys. Call Larry Murphy. Call Nazem
Kadri. Don't start with Larry Murphy. Larry Murphy was awful when he played for Toronto. Awful.
Fine.
He was past his prime. He was awful.
Well, he clearly wasn't past his prime because
he was
a pretty damn good player on Detroit Red Wings Stanley Cup championship team.
As a sixth defenseman, yes, he was. Fine.
He played 18 minutes a night for Scotty. I digress.
He was awful in a Leaf uniform. Awful.
Listen, if you're happy to close
I'm not happy about anything unless they win the Stanley Cup. All I'm saying is, and I'm just happy I did some research. That's what I'm
proud
about.
of your research. Last week and this week, you have been hitting the books. I'm really impressed with it.
I have.
And it's great. But I think that you felt like you were coming in to dunk on me like Jordan.
No, I wasn't. I was just trying to say, every time I hear the Leafs are the worst drafted team ever existed in any sport.
Where's their elite defensemen? Where are they?
Okay, they haven't drafted well defensemen. Fine.
Okay.
That doesn't say that they're the worst ever. That they're the worst ever.
And to pair it with their draft strategy and their
So should they draft a defenseman this year then? Should they pick a defenseman first overall?
That's a really hard. They are in a hard hard situation here because it's like, do we take McKenna and do we pass on him and potentially watch him go become a 90-point player somewhere else and end up with a defenseman that's pretty good? Maybe one of these defensemen is really good. We don't know.
We don't.
That's not for me to decide. I've watched it.
Like Cole
Chase
Hudson
Reed
wasn't picked second or third overall, was he?
No, he wasn't. Neither was his brother, who's playing for guess who?
Yeah.
And like 2021, I don't care. Great, you got Matthew Nyes, fantastic. We have both Protus brothers, a third and a fifth round pick.
Good.
I really don't care. Matthew Nyes, I wouldn't trade either of them for Matthew Nyes.
You wouldn't trade Oreo or whatever his name is?
Vinny Iorio, okay, great. You found a miss.
That's what I'm saying.
No.
Vinny Iorio. 2 picks
Vinny
before
Iorio.
Matthew Nyes.
Bummer.
How come you guys didn't get him? How come you didn't pick Matthew Nyes? Where's your draft guys that year?
We have Protus and his brother and
we have
Hudson's
Matthew
little
Nyes.
brother. And we also had Carlson and over the years, Mike Green. Washington literally, and this is the last thing I'll say about this because I like this little competition. We're jabbing back and forth between our teams. Washington legitimately could roll out 2 top 6 pairs of defensemen over their history that are infinitely better than anything Toronto's rolled out for the 100 and what
no
are
argument.
we into now?
No argument there. I can't jab anything.
It'll be 111 years, 108
no argument.
Years of
whatever. It's too long.
So that's my point, though. Why is a team that, by the way, got to wear this on the chin because it's a fact, much like the draft record on your side. This is a fact. Worst expansion team of all time, the Washington Capitals. They won 8 games in 1974-75. How is a franchise like that? They almost moved in 1982, by the way. They had to have a Save the Caps campaign. Craig
I remember that.
Big trade with Montreal. Montreal regrets that trade. Thank you very much, Rod Langway. How is a team like that been able to draft so much better than a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs? There's a mystery. There's a book here. Somebody should write a book on this.
You should.
It's not going to be me. I don't want to. I'll contribute to it. I'll contribute opinions to it that no one wants to hear.
I'm sure you would.
I'm just saying, I feel like they should be a little better at this. And who knows? Maybe John Chaika with his analytical knowledge and Matt Sundin next to him with a little bit more of an old school player's view. Maybe they'll drastically improve on this. And in 10 years' time, from 2026 to 2036, they'll be third in getting players in rounds 3 to 7.
Here's what I can say. Here's what I can say about the draft. Just because I was intimately involved in the draft process when I worked.
You were there a lot.
I was in the room with the scouts.
You filmed this stuff.
I filmed it. I was in the room with the scouts.
Clarkey
so
TV.
Every team has a Western scout, an Ontario scout, a Quebec scout, a European scout, a college scout. Yeah. And they all get in a room. Well, do you know how hard it is? And then there's guys who will cross over.
Yeah.
But if Tommy Bergman
on your team,
Tommy Bergman, I'm going to pick. Tommy Bergman was the Leafs. I don't know if he's still there or not. He was the Leafs European scout. Mm-hmm. So he would come into the room and he would say, Rasmus Sandin is the best defenseman available. Okay. Well, and then there's a guy, Garth Malarchuk out west. He says this defenseman's better.
Yeah, Luke Shen.
They never play against each other. I get it, but it's just hard to piece guys together because basically there's a big board. There's a big board in the room. And now here's another funny story. They have this big board in the room and they have, a computer and a projector and all that stuff. Do you know who they would call to make the projector work when the projector didn't work?
Was it you?
No, it wasn't me.
Okay.
So NHL Central Scouting would always
You're an engineer,
scouts,
so.
Right? They would put out their scouting list, Central Scouting. And
Yeah.
you know who worked in like the IT department, I think, for NHL Central Scouting?
Back then? I don't know.
Back then? I'm drawing a blank. The assistant GM that they just let go. Brandon Pridham.
Oh, really? Okay.
Pridham would come in the room and he would hook up the equipment. So I played hockey against Brandon Pridham. Good guy. I never thought he would ever become an NHL general manager. And the reason he did was because he worked for then the league when they did the the cap.
Yes,
situation.
in 2005, he was the one that helped write the rules.
But it's the scouting is a very hard process. I'm not making any excuses. No excuses whatsoever. And you can see a kid. Look at Edmonton, like, Nail Yakupov. Like, this guy was the number one pick, no doubt about it. Well, what happened? Right?
You're not wrong.
It's
Patrick Steffen, dude.
And I, you know what? And maybe I get my back up a little bit because I was close with a lot of these scouts that worked for the Leafs then.
No,
and the
I understand.
Amount of time and effort and going to a rink every single night in the middle of nowhere was like such. Like I went on a scouting trip with Garth Malarchuk out west. I think I've told you. Barry Trapp, the Leafs director of scouting, and Garth Malarchuk, and I had the camera and I shot him going to rinks, and like we went to a place in Salmon Arm, BC.
Yeah,
and they were looking at a kid out there who actually made it to the NHL. I think New Jersey drafted him just ahead of the Leafs. Zach Zajac. What was his name?
Oh, Travis
Zajac. Yeah, he played for Salmon Arms.
Good NHL player.
Yeah, and that's who we went to watch that night. But it's all luck of the draw.
I don't mean to come off as harsh or disparage the work that scouts do. Like, I see them come through Guelph all the time, and the scouts that roll through for all the teams all seem like awesome guys. It's an incredibly grueling profession where you're spending wakeless hours driving from here to there.
It really is unbelievable.
Just to get a look at a guy, right? And there is a crapshoot element because, like, you scout a kid at 18 who's draft eligible and you look at their ability right now and you're trying to go, okay, they look like this now. I'm trying to project at 25 that they'll be 3 inches taller if they put on 15 pounds of muscle, this, that, and the other. You don't know. All you have, like any of us have, is the information in front of us. Like, I'm not an expert on this stuff, dude. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, what's cold and callous about professional sports at this level is that it's a results-based business. Yeah. Unfortunately,
no doubt,
that reflects back on your front office and scouting staff. Not because these scouts don't work hard. That's impossible for me to believe. And not because they're not passionate and are able to assess skills that players have at their age. The tough part about drafting, and this is where the development side comes in, is being able to stretch that over hopefully a good and impactful NHL career for that kid that you draft in the 6th round from Flin Flon, Manitoba, or Tampere, Finland. Like it's incredibly hard. There's no, I know you have, dude. Like, you're well tracked. Like, about the process of this far more than me. I'm just some fat ass that sits in the booth and yells he scores. Okay. So I understand when people like get on our socials and I see it. I understand. And they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. To a degree, I don't. I just see the black and white results and go, Toronto Maple Leafs. Not very good.
And you watch, like, I watched the general managers at that time when I was there. So first it was Pat Quinn, who was basically hands off. Hey, Barry Trapp, you're in charge. You're making the calls who we're drafting. He didn't really get involved at all. He was head coach and GM, so didn't really have the time to do any scouting.
Yeah.
And then we got, we got JFJ, and he was guarded, to say the least. He didn't really like me in the meetings with the cameras. So that sort of ended. But he would definitely go to the video rooms when these guys got video of these players. And then it was Berkey, and Berkey was more hands-on, I think, than the other two guys. And he got what I was doing because he would call me and say, hey, Clarkey, I'm watching some tapes today of players. And I'll never forget the Morgan Riley one, right? Like, he's like, Morgan Riley's going to go number 1. If we have our choice, he's number 1 on our list. And, you look back at that draft, and I mean, Morgan's obviously struggling last couple of years, but
he was a really good player.
He was. And he was probably the best player
years.
coming out of that draft.
It's hard to argue that. You look back at that draft, like that's the 2012 draft, like
something like that.
He and keep in mind, I'm not comparing the two, obviously, but similar story to Schaefer from last draft, where he was hurt a good majority of his draft year, Morgan Riley. Like, he had a really serious knee injury.
Okay, so here's the top 5. So I mentioned this guy before. Do you remember who went number 1?
That was the Yakupov, yes.
Ryan Murray went to Columbus.
Columbus, yeah.
Alex Galchenyuk went to Montreal.
I'll say this for Ryan Murray, another guy that had injuries really derail his career. But Galchenyuk, who had one really good year.
And then Griffin Reinhart.
Yeah, Griffin Reinhart to the Oilers.
Islanders.
Oh, yes, the Islanders. Yes.
And then Morgan Riley. So out of those 5, to me, Morgan Riley is the better player. Now, there was guys later on in the draft.
Yep.
There was a guy picked 16th who was probably pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Wilson.
And remember, so like I'm glad you brought that up, because you were ragging on me about Vinny Iorio, who, by the way,
I get it. It's just all I wanted to point out is
you're right. Tom Wilson, honestly, I would actually like to. Tom Wilson might actually be the number 1 overall pick if they could do that draft again, considering what he's turned into. Because I remember when the Caps drafted him, and I had friends of mine who were going, why on earth would they draft a 4th-line fighter? Keep in mind, Tom Wilson was not a 4th-line player in the OHL. He was playing on Plymouth's top line, the now defunct Plymouth Whalers, who moved to Flint. He was very, very good. But people did not think that, A, in junior, he was a very good skater. He's very fast. And B, they didn't think that at the NHL level, because he didn't have great hands, not a high skill guy, that he would turn into a 30-goal scoring power forward on the first line of a Stanley Cup winning team. Nobody had that. The Caps got torn apart for drafting him that high.
There you go.
And there it is. Like, Who knew? You know?
Yeah, like you look at, I loved going back and looking at drafts. So Hampus Lindholm goes.
It's a fun exercise.
He goes 6th. Yeah. Hampus Lindholm to the Ducks. Matt Dumba,
very good player,
goes 7th.
Very good player.
Derek Pouliot goes to the Penguins. Jacob Trouba goes 9th to the Jets.
Really good player.
Slater Cuckoo.
Oh, Slater Cuckoo. Yep.
Cuckoo. Yep. Goes to Tampa, and then Philip Forsberg goes 11th. Philippe Forsberg.
Yes. Wash had two first rounders that year. Yeah.
Grigorenko goes to Buffalo. Radek Faksa. Cody Ceci.
Radek Faksa, really good, solid depth
and then
player.
2 guys back to back: Tom Wilson, Thomas Hertel, and David Teravainen.
Teravainen, pretty good player.
And 19th overall. Want to venture? Top goalie.
Oh, geez. Who would have been taken? It's pretty rare. Goalie gets taken the first round. It wasn't Vasilevsky, was it?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember that because he had a very, very good World Juniors. And Russia won that World Junior. That was that crazy World Junior where Russia and Sweden, actually Russia lost that one. Remember, that was the one where Sweden was out shooting Russia like 32-4 after 2 periods. And Mika Zibanejad scored the OT winner. That was, but Vasi was the goalie on that team, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's crazy to look back on for sure. And it's endless fun to kind of go back and go, what could have been? And should this guy have gone first? That's part of being a fan. I'm not trying to stand here and disrespect anybody's scouting staff and go, oh, they don't work hard. They don't know what they're doing. That's not, but unfortunately, it's a cold, callous business. It's black and white. You didn't get this guy, the other team did, and you didn't win, and they did. That's sports.
It's so hard to tell what an 18-year-old is going to turn out to be like.
I'm not, by the way, people ask me all the time around this time of year, it starts creeping into like we're getting near the draft, and people reach out to me because I work in the OHL and call games, and they're like, you've seen this guy, like, what do you think of him? And I'm like, I'm not an expert. I'm not a scout.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I think of him as an OHLer. I don't I can make a guess at what I think that they're going to work out as, but don't take my word for it and draft. I had a buddy of mine a few years ago ask me, oh, well, you know, what about I can't even remember the player. And I was like, oh, I think he's going to be a really solid. I didn't say star. I said solid NHL player. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to draft him in my fantasy keeper league. And then 3 years later, he was pissed off at me that the kid hadn't played an NHL game yet. I was like, I didn't tell you to draft him. Like, I don't know. I'm not claiming I'm an X because I'm not. Like, I'm not pretending to be.
Can I ask you a question?
Please.
Who are the Hamilton Hammers?
Okay. I was going to get to this.
I know you were.
But you bring it up. So, if you're unaware, the Islanders farm team for a long time now, their AHL affiliate has based in Bridgeport, the Bridgeport Sound Tigers.
Yeah.
And they have moved. They announced earlier this year that they were moving their affiliate to Hamilton because they were going to get a better lease deal at the arena, and the Hamilton arena that used to house the AHL Bulldogs.
Yeah.
No, it's not Cops.
I know it's not, but that's what it was called. But yeah,
it was called Cops.
Yeah.
Got a big facelift, and that's why the Hamilton Bulldogs OHL version had to move to Brantford. But now the arena is ready to house a team again, and the Islanders were like, we would like to set up shop there for our AHL squad. And this is the newly minted Hamilton Hammers.
I like it.
Which, look, again, it's like anything. The first thing I thought was, that's kind of campy, the Hamilton Hammers. Like, but
I like it, man.
It's not it's not like it's out of left field. Like, I'm not a giant fan of it, but we always do this. We did it with the Golden Knights. We did it with the Kraken. We were like, look at that goofy logo. On first glance, when I first saw it, I was like, the Hamilton Hammer. And by the way, they definitely made this with AI. Pay a real person to do it. Well, I don't have the budget of the Islanders to pay a graphic designer, and I'm dumb. So, but look, the fact of the matter is this. There are people that are like, this sucks. What is this? I get it. When it's on jerseys and players are skating around with it, it's going to look 1,000 times better.
For sure.
It's a flat graphic image on our screen for our viewers right now. If you're listening to the pod, we appreciate you. Go Google it, the Hamilton Hammers. Once this is on jerseys and equipment, it'll look great. Just like the Golden Knights did, like the Kraken.
Honestly, I like it.
It's not the worst logo I've ever seen.
No.
Okay. It does
I like
look
the name
the logo.
Too, the Hammers. It's the Hammer. That's what Hamilton's called.
It is the hammer.
That's what it's called.
It's the Hammer, dude. Hardcore. Yeah. I'm wearing a Hamilton teeth. Shout out to my boys in Teeth. Proudly from the Hammer.
I don't
download
mind
their
a
stuff.
lot of things. I'm actually even sometimes a fan of the Ticats, but not when I'm cheering for the Argos. So there you go. I golfed with Lance Jomick last week too.
An all-time great logo, by the way, the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Well, so is the Argos. The Argos, I think, is one of the best logos in sport. I really do.
It's so clean.
It's clean, and it typifies exactly what it is. Anyway.
And I also too like that logo. We're down a logo rabbit hole. That logo. Every iteration that they've done of it, yes, the boat one is the best.
Boat. Yeah, there's been some bad ones. The A and the.
I didn't hate the A. I didn't hate it.
You can't have an A as your logo. That's nearly as bad as having nothing. Like Browns.
But what it was kind of a throwback to like the varsity.
I know what it was. I know that, but going.
I don't know why I'm explaining that.
Going from the boat logo to an A, and then they had, like when John Candy took over, like they lost the rights to that logo, and John Candy had to come in and they did Argos, and it's like, oh my god, it was terrible.
Did you watch the documentary about John Candy, by the way?
No.
It's really good. Worth a watch. Definitely worth a watch. Okay, I was going to bring up the Hammers at the end.
That's okay.
I want to hit on this quickly because I know that you only caught like video of it, but Kate and I sat down and watched Game 4 of the Walter Cup final, and what a nice end of the year moment for Marie-Philippe Poulin. Congrats. Montreal Victoire, first Canadian team to win. This is the third ever Walter Cup. Minnesota, how about them? Hot out of the gate, winning the first two Walter Cup championships back to back. So Montreal Walter? Making some history. I don't know who the Walter. I genuinely don't
Okay.
know what it's named after. Clarkey, I don't know.
Okay.
But great to see Pooh there. Just she's the greatest
Google.
ever, and it's really cool to see that. The crowd in Ottawa, they won it on the road in Ottawa. Like all the Ottawa fans, like stuck around, and it was really, really cool to see that. And obviously, we wish that Canada would have had a better outcome at the Olympic Games. And I mean, the rumor was that she was even injured then. So for her to win not only the cup, but the MVP, the captain, all the players talking glowingly about her after, and Corey Chevry from Halifax, the first ever female head coach to win the Walter Cup. And that poor woman, they soaked her in Molson Export after she was absolutely.
You're gonna love who Walter is named after.
Oh, you have
You're gonna love
inside.
Well,
this is
Google,
here?
and I'm assuming Google's correct. Mark Walter is a billionaire businessman, co-owner of the LA Dodgers, and the primary financial backer and founder of the PWHL.
Okay, so he was part of that initial board. That's okay. And that makes sense. Like he was the guy that really helped kickstart things, and fair enough. I mean, it's no different than Lord Stanley. Lord Stanley
he donated it. It's designed by Tiffany and Company.
There you go. Yes, and Kate, my girlfriend Kate, big Tiffany. I have a funny story to share with you on that note, by the way.
Like on air or off air?
Yeah, on air.
Okay.
She's not going to care because I remedied the situation, but it's funny you bring up Tiffany and Co. Because if you're like me, and I'll speak for you too, Clarkey.
Don't tell me you think it was the singer.
No. Okay. No. Obviously. What I was going to say was, if you're like us, we're simple dudes. I would not describe myself or Clarkey as fashionable. We're pretty plain Jane guys, right? Okay. Like I don't live in that world. Okay.
No.
My dear Kate does. Very fashionable lass, and loves Tiffany. Now, if you're familiar with Tiffany, they got some stuff that's pretty expensive. It's expensive stuff. And they have a line of stuff that's like a little more affordable in the kind of $500-ish range of rings, bracelets. They make all kinds of stuff. And yes, they're a custom jewelry company. They also make a number of different trophies, the MLS Cup, they have the Lombardi Trophy. I don't know that a lot of people know. Also the Larry O'Brien, the NBA championship. Tiffany and Co. makes those trophies, and they also make the MVP awards for playoff. I was shocked to learn this. The only reason I know this is because the other day I'm sitting on the couch reading a book, just chilling, and I hear a distressed scream from my bathroom, and it's Kate. And I go in there expecting some sort of medical emergency, and it isn't. Kate, as a gift to herself, bought herself a Tiffany's bracelet. It was like, it's a nice bracelet, but it's one of those ones that's not going. It's one of those ones that's not like $3,000, thank God. But she bought it for herself a couple years ago as a treat to herself. Like, I love this brand. It's cool to have. It's a cool thing for a girl to have a Tiffany's bracelet, okay? It's got a little heart on it. It's cool. And I go into the bathroom and I ask, what is the matter? And somehow, in this crazy game of life that we're all playing, when she went to flush the toilet, the bracelet unclasped, fell in, and followed the contents of the toilet down the drain. I am baffled by this. I'm in stunned silence. I think she's playing a prank on me. I'm like, there's no way that happened. But she's upset, and I'm like, okay, this is a real situation. Now, this happened on Victoria Day, the long weekend, the holiday Monday. Nothing is open. Because the first thing I thought, Clarkey, was, well, we can go get like a magnetic snake and try and shove it down there or whatever. But, even that's a long shot. Well, it's Canadian Tire's closed. Like, we can't. So sadness is overcoming my sweet Kate. And I decide I need to remedy this situation.
You didn't.
I just bought her a new one.
Oh, okay. thought you went. I thought the hand went down as far as it could go.
No.
So the problem.
I did not try.
Here's the problem. A guy who knows a little bit about plumbing.
Okay.
The problem is once it gets past the toilet, which it obviously would. It's gone.
It's heavy.
Unless you can run down to a trap in your basement, but you're in a quad or whatever it's called.
We're in an apartment. There's no trap.
One other person flushes the toilet and it's gone for sure.
It's in the water treatment plant now. It's in the North Perth
water
treatment plant.
See if they found it.
No, because I played hero, not to be Enrique Iglesias here.
But aren't these expensive?
Again, she had one that was part of their more affordable. I'm not going to tell you what I paid for it.
Okay.
But I did because she was devastated. Like, it's a thing. Yeah. We all know what it's like to have this item I remember when I bought this, my Shure SM7B microphone that I use on every episode of Instigating. Not a cheap microphone. I was lucky that when COVID happened, there was a huge sale because no one was out buying stuff. And I managed to get what's regularly, a $950 mic for far cheaper. Same type of feeling. I was like, I feel like a real broadcaster. I have my own really nice microphone. Our viewers can see it. If you watch podcasts, everybody's using these. It's the industry standard, Sure, SM7B, but they're not cheap. So I understand the feeling.
Does mine sound okay though? I don't have one.
Yeah, you're just fine. We'll get you one. Well, I'll figure out. I could actually probably get you an SM7B used for not much. The point being, we all understand the feeling of you want this really nice item, you save up for it, something I'd be devastated if someone broke this. They're hard to break, thank God, and they have a really good warranty, but there's no warranty for a bracelet that you flush down the toilet.
No.
And we can laugh about it now.
Sue and I went to Mackinac Island, and she wanted this hat that had a bicycle on it.
Yeah.
And she wore that hat everywhere she went. And it was 2 years later. 2 years later, we go to Jamaica, and we hire a taxi and we go off the property and we go to this bird sanctuary because we like taking pictures. We're taking pictures of the birds, and then I guess she put it down to take some pictures and forgot to pick it up. We get back to the hotel and it's gone, and can't find it anywhere. We call the taxi company. It's not in the taxi. They looked everywhere. I called place we went. I actually emailed the place we went, and they said, no, we haven't seen anything. About 2 weeks later, they sent me a message saying, we found the hat, but not before the dog did, and destroyed it.
Oh, no. I thought you were going to tell me that a bird snatched it off her head and flew off.
So a dog destroyed the hat.
Hey, props to them for keeping an eye out.
That's right. And then we didn't go back to Mackinac Island, but I called the place in Mackinac Island and got a new one for her. So
good guy, Clarkey.
Yeah, I still have the hat, so it means a lot.
Yeah, you got to keep that stuff, right? And it's we can laugh about it now because and the new bracelet actually showed up today.
Oh,
so we can laugh about it now. Beautiful. Sometimes you just flush your dreams.
There was no ring or anything with it.
No, it was like a braid with a little charm thing. I got her the exact same one.
I was just, nudging you about something. That's all.
Oh yeah, I understand. Give me some time here. I'm poor. I bought a mic. I'm just kidding. We really appreciate everybody listening to and watching the show. Remember, you can catch us on Rogers TV.
Kate will be happy with that.
Yeah. You can catch us on Rogers TV. You can catch us on YouTube. Find it on all your favorite podcast apps if you like to listen. Getting a lot of messages from people that they're enjoying listening in the car, which is great. It's driving season. It's nice out. We appreciate you listening. Follow us on social media at Instigating Pod. Follow us as well. It really helps us out. We really appreciate it. We'll be back next week. I'll be coming at you from Vancouver.
Oh,
okay. Vacation time. We'll still do an episode, but I'll be coming at you from Vancouver next week here on Instigating. Yeah, and we'll have a guest here on Instigating with Clarkey and Drury. We'll see you next week, guys.